Hello again. Well, previously we have seen walls in depth, and now in this short lesson I will try to demystify curtain walls in Revit. When creating curtain walls, you have three options to start with. To see this, first from the build panel, click wall, and from the properties dialog box, go down here, and you have the curtain wall, exterior glazing, and storefront. Well, what's the difference between these three? Technically speaking, nothing. They differ only in the predefined settings ready for you, just like we saw in the template tutorial. So if I select the curtain wall, the basic, and hit edit type, you can see that I don't have any predefined settings in here. No vertical or horizontal grids. Again, no horizontal or vertical mullions. Here you have to start from ground zero. Second one is exterior glazing. If I hit edit type, and you can see I do have grids, both horizontal and vertical grids, but no mullions. Last but not least, I have the storefront. In here you can see all the parameters have some values. I have grids and mullions, so the question again is which one to start with. Well, for me I don't see any difference, so you can start with any of the three. And since I'm in storefront, I will use that. Let's create our curtain wall with default settings. I will manipulate that as we go for you to see what I'm doing. I will create this part. And if the curtain wall that you are creating is not cutting out the wall, you can go to edit type and check the automatic embed in here. Now let me adjust the views for better look. Select the curtain wall and hit edit type again. And if I start with the vertical grids, in here you have to choose on how to apply your vertical grids. Maximum spacing will work for me. The maximum spacing for this project is 0.29 meter. And for the horizontal grids, I don't have any in this project, but for the illustration, let's put some and give it a maximum distance of like, 0.5 meter. I will hit apply and check out the change in the curtain wall. To check the spacing, let's hit OK out of this dialog box and measure between any of the grids. And you can see the spacing is still 0.29 meter. Select it again and go back to the edit type dialog box. And you can see in here I have two part mullions, those which are inside and those on the border of my curtain wall. All the mullions will be 30 mm square, so change everything to 30 mm square. I will start with the interior and hit apply for you to see the change and which mullion that I'm affecting. And you can see the interior becomes smaller to 30 mm. Let's change the border 1 and border 2 mullions. And now my vertical grids are all set. Let's come to the horizontal grids and change everything to 30 mm square. Click OK from the properties dialog box to finish that. Now let's set my curtain wall offset from ground and next floor. If I go quickly to AutoCAD to show you this, I'm in AutoCAD now, and you can see my curtain wall starts at 1 meter from the ground floor and ends at 2.37 meters shy of the next floor. So this value will be negative if you consider it from the first floor. This value is positive taking in consideration ground floor. So to do that, let's go back to Revit again. Select the curtain wall. From the properties dialog box, from my base offset, if I take a ground floor as my reference, it will be 1 meter above it. So this value is going to be positive. And my top constraint will be first floor. You can do this even taking the ground floor as your reference level. But for me, since I'm taking the first floor, I will enter 2.37 meter as my top constraint. And in here, I usually choose the horizontal mullions to be dominant over the vertical. So select the horizontal mullion and click the small controls in here. And do the same with the lower horizontal mullions. And if you want to change the shape from rectangle to anything, you can use the edit profile like any other wall. You can watch the previous tutorial for that. One thing I want to add here quickly, and what many of my students raise, is how to manipulate orientation of grids in a curtain wall. Well, to do that, let's select our curtain wall. And in the center, you can see this small icon. And by clicking that, Revit will give you the freedom to manipulate the grid's origin and angle. You can see now this makes visible the distance of the origin and the degree of orientation for the grids. The intersection of these two arrows determine the origin, and if you remember, the values that we put in the edit type dialog box for the vertical and horizontal grids reflect this origin. If you want to change the location of the origin, you can do it either using these arrows, or you can manipulate the number of values in here. As I stated before, the angle controls the orientation of the grids, so let's try 30 degree. I don't know why 30 degree is my favorite angle, it's just there in my head always. And hit enter to commit. And negative 30 degree for the horizontal grids. And this causes the grid to rotate measured from the vertical line. Last but not least, let's discuss about corner mullions and how to connect two curtain walls that meet at an angle. I left these corners intentionally unconnected. First, to connect the two, let's use simple trim, just like we use in any type of wall. From the Modify panel, choose Trim, and select the part you want to left with. Now the two curtain walls are connected, but they still have two mullions in the corner. So to solve that, select one of the mullions. If it's not highlighting the mullion, simply hit Tab until it toggles to the mullion, and select it. And from the Properties dialog box, hit the drop down for type selection, and choose L mullion. I need L connection in here. After that, Revit will automatically ask you to delete the mullion from the other curtain wall due to overlapping. Click Delete Element, and that's how you join corners in curtain wall. With this, I will finish this tutorial, and in the end, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for notification for upcoming tutorials. And if you have any question or you want me to create an in-depth tutorial about curtain walls, you can post it in the comment section.